Hey guys, Andy here from Mediocre Hobbies coming at you with more Age of Sigmar goodness. We are of course still working our way through the Skaventide box set. I did a launch video where I went through the kind of contents of the box set, showed you how it was to build some of them. On my stream last night I did some more building. I got another like 10 Stormcast miniatures constructed. Really starting to get through the box set now. And I also did the Rat Ogre video for you guys earlier in the week as well. I wanted to get another video out midweek and another video out on Saturday for this. I'll show you guys how to build and paint some specific miniatures. And in today's video I want to tackle the Prosecutors for the Stormcast. These models are epic. Funnily enough, I do own some of the old Prosecutors, as I own every Stormcast miniature, but I've never actually built, painted them, or fielded them in a game. So perhaps this is an edition of Age of Sigmar, and this is the kind of Stormcast collection that's going to get me into having some Prosecutors, because these miniatures are so nice. They're so sleek. I would love to see like 3 units of 6 of them on the table. Just see what 18 of these guys led by like a Knight of Zeros would look like on the tabletop. I think it would look pretty swish. Okay, so I'm going to teach you guys how to paint that model in today's video. Before I get into it though, I just want to say a huge thank you to my patrons. You guys make this all possible. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. If you're interested in getting involved with that yourself, linked in the description below. You get access to a private Discord server and a vlog style video from me most days of the week, keeping you up to date what's going on in the hobby and lets you guys interact with me and help dictate what kind of videos I make and help kind of shape the channel. So if that's something, like I said, that interests you, link down below. Okay, without further ado, let's get in and get this Prosecutor painted. Okay, so this is the Prosecutor miniature. I have already sprayed it black and then given it a spray with Retributor Armor Gold spray. Now, you don't need to have Retributor Armor Gold spray. If you want to, you can spray the miniature black and then just layer it up with Retributor Armor Gold, you know, a heavy dry brush or something, or like a heavy overbrush to get that first coat of gold on. I have Retributor Armor Gold spray. It speeds up the whole process, so I'm going to use that. Same thing I use with my Custodes. If you have a Stormcast armies or a Custodes army, although the gold spray is expensive, I think it saves you so much time in the long run. Okay, so the first thing that I always do is I grab my Reichland Flesh Shade and I apply this all over the gold armor. This brings it down to this really nice dark tone, and from there I just like to dry brush it back up again. While that's drying though, I am just going to throw a little bit of Skaven Blight Dinge on the rockwork and throw a little bit of AK's Interactive Dark Earth onto the base as well, because I need these to dry so I can continue on later in the video. So I decided I would throw them on now while the shade is drying, save myself a little bit of time. So like I say briefly earlier, the Prosecutor miniatures back in the day were always a bit of a pain. People could never make them stay on their flying stands. They had a horrible habit of breaking. They were kind of chunky. They weren't very good in the game. So they kind of got forgotten about. Not a lot of people took them. Not a lot of people bought them. I only actually bought them when I was trying to fill in gaps in my collection of Stormcast and realized I didn't have any. So I bought a box of 6 multi-part ones and I haven't even assembled them yet. Having said that, the ones in the new box are absolutely stunning. Like, they're gorgeous. They're so much sleeker. They look like airborne predators and I'm just so happy with them. So I literally didn't realize how much I was going to like them until I finished building it, and that's what made me want it to be the first Stormcast video from this box set. So as you've seen there, I go back to Retributor Armor Golds and I dry brush over the miniature. I just want to leave that really dark kind of really dark tarnished color gold in all the recesses, and then build up that other color through layers of just dry brushing. So it only takes a couple seconds. Liberator Gold is going to be the second to last dry brush on the gold. And as you can see, that starts to pick out all of the sharp details. Now, another caveat to this video, and I do apologize for as I go through, I try to cut as much of the bad footage out as possible. But I always get excited to paint these kind of miniatures and then remember how much the camera hates them. Because he goes out in all directions, wings, even his weapon is pointing so far forward, and then his base, he's so far off. The camera doesn't really know where to focus. It's always just trying to focus on the closest thing. So it's a bit of a pain in the butt to get it in focus. So I apologize if there's any bad clips in this. So I'm not going to do the final layer of dry brushing on the armor just yet. Mainly because I didn't really know I was going to do it until later on, and I felt it just needed to pop a little bit more. So later on when you see the stage that I do, you can probably go back and do it now, but it's up to you. So Lead Belcher was then introduced, and all the other silver details on this miniature are getting base coated. So that means all the chainmail, the tip of his weapon, and any other kind of buckles or clasps or anything like that you can find on the model, just give it a coat. Catachan flesh was then going to be used, and I'm going to use that on all the straps holding on his armor, his belt around his waist, and any other details like that you can find on the model. Now, there was a bit on this which made it funny because I was dry brushing up the entire process and like getting what I thought to be the gold armor on these guys. When I suddenly realized that there is actually a couple of other patches on this model that aren't armor, where they would have traditionally been on all other Stormcasts. These guys are a little bit lighter, obviously because they need to fly, so maybe they need to be physically lighter, or they just need to be more maneuverable. So when I get to the Black Templar stage of where I'm trying to fill in the gaps, I will talk about it a little bit more. Screamer Pink was used as the handle color for all the wraps on the weapons. That goes for the dagger on his waist, and of course his trident. It's the same color I use for absolutely every Stormcast weapon that I ever do. I think it really jumps. I've actually incorporated it more into Space Marines and stuff as well as just a handle color for Thunder Hammers and power weapons and stuff. I think it looks fantastic. Steel Legion Drab was brought in as the base coat for all of the parchment. Now these Stormcast once again didn't used to have these. It was very much just a Space Marine thing, but they have started to introduce it into later miniatures, and it always adds an extra nice bit of touch. Something you can kind of get painted really quickly, but adds that extra bit of color, breaks up the quantity of gold, and looks kind of cool as well. So I'm happy enough to have these included on my Stormcast models. Maybe you can indicate which ones are kind of more veteran, more senior, been on a campaign a little bit more and stuff like that. Can have more purity seals. I quite like that concept. Black Templar contrast was then used for, like I said, filling in the gaps. And I started to just fill in, as per usual, all the bits where, like, you know, joints bend. So look at the crook of the arm, behind the knee, that kind of bit. And it was only then that I realized, I was like, his hands don't look very armor. Are they fabric? So I went back and looked at some more reference pictures and realized he's wearing fabric gloves, and that the back of his thighs even were unarmored. The front of his thighs, armor panel, the back of his thighs. So had to go around and try and picture and try and break up all the armor and find all those bits that are supposed to be fabric. And as you can see, it does make quite a difference up his arm and stuff, behind his leg. It looks really cool. So Nuln Oil was then used to highlight everything that isn't the gold armor. So we shade everything. All the chainmail, all the parchment, all the red handle, all those bits and pieces we're going to do with a Nuln Oil shade. Super quick step, but like I said, it likes to add depth to all those extra pieces. We gave so much love and attention to the gold, we can't have the rest of the bits looking kind of flat. So he is really starting to get somewhere now, but I did decide that I wanted to kind of sharpen up the armor, like I said, a little bit more. So I just grabbed Iron Breaker, and I'm going to give it a very light dry brush. Now, on all the kind of raised areas, bits that are going to catch the light a little bit more. So obviously up and down his wings is going to catch it. His shield is going to catch it quite a lot. His chest, his weapon is going to catch it a little bit. I took the opportunity to use it to dry brush the ends of the blade as well to highlight those. Quick and easy step. But I think it pushed the tone of the armor more kind of towards being an awesome gold color and a little bit less from like a little bit too coppery for my liking. Morghast Bone is used to highlight the parchment bit. So there is a parchment going between his legs. And then of course one hanging off his shield as well. Super quick and easy. As you can see, I'm just using that stabbing motion to get that highlighted. It only takes, once again, a couple of seconds. Like, that's the thing about all the techniques I'm trying to show you guys with the Stormcast army. Every step is fast. There's nothing worse than a tedious step in an army project. If you're trying to paint a whole squad and you're dreading getting to one stage, that's a nightmare. You want everything to only take kind of a couple minutes at most per model. So hopefully this is coming across well. You guys can see, like, I could very comfortably sit here and paint up these 3 prosecutors getting that box set in about 3 hours from start to finish, the whole thing done. I will say brush time, not including drying time. Sometimes shades and texture paste can slow the whole process down, but I think it's only going to take about an hour per miniature of brush time to get these guys finished, which I think is pretty good going. Okay, so Kaldor Sky was then used to highlight the other blue color. So when I added the last blue color, the McCragg blue, you can obviously change this out for anything you want. This is where, you know, picking your kind of chamber comes into effect. If you want it to be purple or you want it to be red or any of those colors, you swap out the blues that I'm doing here for your color of choice. There's a million suggestions in the Stormcast Battle Tome of literally just swapping out those colors. Now, obviously, there's entire chapters that are colored armor, some that are gold or silver armor. I'll do completely separate videos on how to do those. But there are quite a large number of them that are just gold, and then you just add in a color. Pink Horror was used as a very quick highlight for all of the kind of leather wraps for his spear and his sword or dagger that he's carrying on his right hip. Once again, just helps that Screamer Pink stage just pop a little bit more. You don't want to go crazy on it. You're not looking for a really solid coat of Screamer Pink, or of Pink Horror, sorry. That might be a little bit too gaudy. He's really starting to get somewhere now, and I'm loving it. So Celestial Grey was then introduced. I use this as the base coat for all of the like energy that flows off his wings that makes him fly. Now, in the example that they gave, the next layer of like that layer of feathers you see just above where I'm painting now, they painted that as like being energy, whereas I see it sculpted as a solid metallic, like that is an armored wing membrane, and from those wings and from those feathers comes the energy membranes. There's a very clear divide as to what one is and what one isn't. And I think the example they gave on there, like the box art one, is a little bit weird. I don't like it a lot, so I'm gonna go with this by just painting like the magical bit. While that stage is drying, I'm just going to quickly finish off the base. So we're going to grab a Dawnstone and do a heavy dry brush on all of the debris and falling rocks and stuff on his base. As you can see, it only takes a couple seconds. It's not the final stage on the rocks. When we're dry brushing up the bases, the kind of mud on the base, we're going to be hitting all the rocks and stuff and helping that all blend together. So although it looks quite grey now, that's okay. So the first thing I do is I grab my Ryza Rust. I like there to be like an iron kind of earthy tone to a little bit of orange in the base. It doesn't show up or read as orange when the model is finished being painted, so don't panic too much. But as you can see, I'm applying it to the base, and I will kind of drag it up the side of all the stonework and catch all those edges and help it look like, you know, dirty stone, which is what it would be sat in a field of war for so long. And then after that, we're going to go to use Shapty Bone. That's the last dry brush that I use on the base. Very quickly applying that, and as you can see, pulling it up over all the stonework as well, helping it all blend together. I really do like this basing scheme. Normally, I do not show my basing scheme because I think everyone's going to base their miniatures differently. But I got a literal direct request on the last video. Are you not going to show us how you did your bases? So if that person is watching this video, I hope this satisfies you. I did this just for you, buddy. So hopefully it's everything you hoped for and more. Black rim the base. Make it look nice and neat and tidy. Like I said, another quick, simple step, but take your time with it. If you get the line really straight on, it's going to look really good. Okay, so for the last stage on the wings, I'm going to go for bold titanium white. I refuse to use Games Workshop's white. It sucks. Just get rid of it and buy a different brand. Bold titanium white is one of my go-tos. And I'm going to use this to dry brush up the wings. Now, I had intentions of going over that with a contrast, a blue or a green or whatever, and getting like a nice glow, and then maybe dry brushing that on top of that with white again to catch the edges. But I just really liked how the white turned out, and the original Prosecutors had the white wings, so I decided to stick with it. But just know, if you wanted to have glowing blue wings, I would throw a Talazar blue over this stage now, and then go back in with either a really light pale blue, like a sky blue, or back over with white again to dry brush it up, and you get beautiful wings. But I think this looks great. I'm super happy with it. Here is the kind of finished result of the Stormcast, including adding a couple of grass tufts to his base to really finish him off. Like, how cool are these models? I really want to see 18 of them on the table. It's like a little itch right now. I want to get my hands on another 5 sets of these guys, get them all painted up and try and play some games with them. Probably going to be awful, but man, it would look really, really cool. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. This is video 2 of the series. There's at least 4 more to go, so if that's something you're excited about, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out. Okay guys, and there we have it. My first new Stormcast Prosecutor is now painted up and ready for the tabletop. I'm really pleased with how it turned out. It wasn't going to be my intention to have that be the first miniature I paint for Stormcast, but it was, once again, the construction of them. When I was holding one of the miniatures in my hand, I fell in love with it and needed to get some paint on it, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm fairly sure I'm going to do the big rat boy as Saturday's video. And then of course I'm going to try and deliver to you guys 3 more videos next week based on the box set. One of them is going to be the big boy. But as for what the other bits and pieces are going to be, that's down to you guys. We've had a lot of votes so far for the Skaven Ratlings, so you guys seem quite keen to see them. So potentially that will be done in the Stormcast. There's actually been quite a lot about the Night Quest store. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what the rest of the votes come in are to dictate what kind of content I'm going to make. And thank you guys so much for sticking around and watching the video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you do the usual things. Give it a like, ask something in the comments, and make sure you subscribe. These are 3 tiny little steps, take 2 seconds out of your day, but mean the world to me and all other content creators. So don't just do it on my videos, make sure you're doing it on everybody's videos. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end. I'll see you in the next one.